Happy December 29th, and welcome to MicroStrategy Today, the only daily show bringing you MicroStrategy's insights 7 days a week. Today's episode, we'll be talking about whales. Are they coming? Yes, is the answer. We'll be talking about the biggest gainers and losers of 2024. I have a great video of Michael Saylor talking about diversity or the lack thereof. Plus, I go in depth through an article that to me is one of the best articles written this year about MicroStrategy and a couple things more. Remember, this video is my opinions only. This is not financial advice, and let's dive on in. Here's my Twitter account right here, my friends. Keep following me if you haven't yet. I do some great posts every single day about all the relevant MicroStrategy information. MicroStrategy. This news article by CCN, the tech stock performance of 2024, the biggest gainers and losers. The key takeaways here, we'll just start with the top one because that's the one that matters. MicroStrategy's significant investment in Bitcoin has paid off handsomely, driving significant stock price gains. And then MicroStrategy's Bitcoin strategy pays out. They talk about how MicroStrategy stock surged over 440% this year, gaining a jump into the NASDAQ 100 index, and that this inclusion could drive over $2.1 billion in stock purchases as the portfolios adjust. And then the rally of Bitcoin reached a record high of 108,000, which boosted MicroStrategy shares, as the company's value is heavily tied to its Bitcoin reserves rather than a traditional business model. And who wants to be tied to a traditional business model? So MicroStrategy soared by over 440%, outpacing Bitcoin's 130%, and the S&P 500's 27%. So again, I know a lot of us have been a little frustrated about the downward trending action in both Bitcoin and MicroStrategy over the past month or so. But you've got to zoom out. You've got to look at the year returns. And hopefully, for all of you holders that are watching this right now, holders of MicroStrategy stock, that in 1 year from now, we'll be looking back at a fantastic full year of returns, not just looking at the day-to-day or week-to-week. And this goes through this chart right here, all of the Bitcoins that have been purchased by MicroStrategy and what dates they did it, the amount, the total US dollars. It's a pretty cool chart to see just how aggressively and savagely Michael Saylor is stacking Bitcoin. And MicroStrategy is calling itself the largest Bitcoin treasury company. And again, this was something that Michael Saylor finally landed on back in the Q3 earnings report. That was really the first time he started saying that very publicly, really signifying where MicroStrategy is going. It really felt to me like when the Q3 earnings call happened, that MicroStrategy had finally found its true north. Like they understand exactly who they are and exactly what they're doing. Again, they've been doing great things since 2020, but now they truly know what they're doing, how they're doing it. And that's why I think 2025 is going to be amazing. Let's go through the Bitcoin whale, because whales, Bitcoin ETFs, and MicroStrategy drive a 3x surge in private Bitcoin transactions. And this article goes through how in recent months, the Bitcoin market has seen a surge in private transactions, particularly through CoinJoin, which is a process that enhances privacy by pooling multiple users' Bitcoin transactions. So what's really interesting about this is typically used, and by this I mean CoinJoin, for very large transactions for institutional whales and just whales in general that just want some privacy as to where the Bitcoin's coming from, going to, etc. And so there's been a surge in those private transactions, which is a strategic shift. And if you look at this chart right now, the number of CoinJoin transactions, I mean, it spiked a little bit here in 2020, 20 and 21, as to be expected during that bull market. But look at what it's been doing recently in 24 and heading into 25. I mean, I know that I try to stay on top of things, and I know that by you watching this, that you try to stay on top of things, and I commend you for that. But believe me, there are bigger players out there that do a lot more of finger on the pulse type tracking. They have a lot more information, a lot more access to knowledge about the macro picture, the micro picture, and all these different things that are upcoming. So it's always interesting to see what the whales are doing. And guess what they're doing? They are accumulating in a big way. Exciting times, in my opinion. Now I wanted to go through this article. I think this is one of the best articles written on MicroStrategy in 2024. And I wanted to go through it in a little bit of a detail. And of course, I'm going to post this entire article in our show notes page. So just check that out if you want to go into details. But this is from Marty Kendall. He wrote, "From blackouts to breakouts, what's next for MSTR?" And again, he has some great charts here to kind of get you excited. He talks about how MicroStrategy's share price is likely to grind sideways until they burn through the 2121 ATM around 22 January 2025, followed by a strong run up during the blackout period before a 4th February 2025 earnings call. So those are some dates that I'm really excited about. I would not be concerned if for the next 1 month, and it's really only 3 weeks from now, MicroStrategy kind of grinds a little bit. Who knows what's going to happen? If Bitcoin surges, of course, MicroStrategy is going to surge in the new year. But if it grinds until January, around January 22nd of 2025, not going to be super surprising. And then there's going to be a blackout period, which could really cause a big surge in MicroStrategy. Again, this is all speculation. Who knows for sure? But then heading into the Q4 earnings call, to me, Michael Saylor is going to be making some historic announcements that's going to finally have people sit up and be like, wait a second. He announced a $42 billion initiative in early November of 2024. And now in early February of 2025, just a few months later, he's announcing this kind of a dollar amount, this hundreds of billions. I mean, who knows what Michael Saylor is going to announce, but I am really expecting a big, big number and a lot of people to finally set up and notice that, hey, this is an insane strategy that Michael Saylor is embarking upon. MicroStrategy's blueprint, the models that define his path. And this is all about the ballistic acceleration model. If you haven't checked that out, by the way, this is a link to it right here. The ballistic acceleration model is really fun to play with. Again, it's ballistic, it's incredibly bullish, but it's still fun to play with if you are a holder of MicroStrategy stock like I am and are looking forward to holding for a long time. And they talk about the fair value model based on the Bitcoin value per share and the Bitcoin yield. And then he talks about the actual ballistic connection, which I'll let you see this graph right here. It's very fascinating to take some time to study. I want to go down to this part right here about stacking sats, how Bitcoin yield fuels MSTR. And he goes through how important accretion is and how so many people are thinking that the ATM selling is pure dilution because they're not doing any research. Of course, you're doing research. You've heard me talk about this ad nauseum, but there's always new people coming to this channel asking the same questions, which is fine because they're valid questions. You need to be confident that you are not in a stock that is diluting itself. But this is an accretive play, and they go on. This guy Marty goes on to tell about how Bitcoin yield fuels MicroStrategy going forward, and how that actually looks in Bitcoin value per diluted share versus MicroStrategy price. So again, great charts. He goes through the Bitcoin principles, which I just absolutely love. I mean, I go through these principles in depth. In fact, I even switched to a clip of Michael Saylor going through these principles in depth. So if you haven't seen my complete history of MicroStrategy, please just go into my videos and you can check it out right there. It's a fantastic 1 hour and 40-minute clip. Not even a clip, it's a presentation, which includes, of course, Michael Saylor talking about these principles. Marty boxed in, prioritize MicroStrategy common stock long-term value creation. That's something I really want everybody that watches these videos to understand. No matter what headlines you see, no matter what announcements are made, if you truly just believe in number two, that Michael Saylor, as a principle, as a stated principle, is prioritizing your common stock long-term value creation, that if you as a long-term holder trust Michael Saylor, he is always going to be working to prioritize your value long-term. That's the goal. And he even posted this, enjoy the ride, because he wants you to know it's going to be a roller coaster because volatility is fire. Volatility is life. That is what makes this an appealing investment across the entire spectrum. And it's going to make them the Bitcoin treasury company of the world. It's the higher volatility, both up and down, that draws more money into MicroStrategy ecosystem through options, convertible bonds, and shorting by people who believe MicroStrategy is overvalued. All this accelerates Saylor's ultimate mission of converting more fiat capital to Bitcoin, the hardest asset the world has ever seen. So again, this is just restating what I shared above. Volatility is a good thing. It's what Michael Saylor is seeking out for options, for convertible bonds, for those people that want to short. You have to have volatility for that to be healthy. And then the under-promising, over-delivering. This is the Bitcoin yield KPI and long-term targets. And you can just see how he is destroying these targets. He upped them in the Q3 earnings report. I have no doubt he's going to up them again in the Q4 earnings report. Very excited stuff. And then here's a chart right here of the Bitcoin per diluted share. Whoop, there we go. Up and to the right, things are looking good. And then this is since August 1st, 2024. Albert Einstein's quote, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. We are understanding this, my friends. That's why we are in MicroStrategy, because it is compounding at a level I don't even think Albert Einstein could comprehend, because it's immediate accretion. If you've ever heard Michael Saylor talk about how when most people have to invest in, say, like a real estate project, it takes 4 to 5 years to even see a return on that. But with Bitcoin, when he sells ATM, when he does a convertible bond, he's immediately buying Bitcoin. That's immediate accretion to you, to myself. Decoding MicroStrategy's ATMs, and this is just going through exactly what happens during those ATM sellings, and I think this will bring a lot of relief to a lot of people that still don't quite understand what's going on there. Some other really good charts that are going down here, and Michael Saylor again just over delivering a Bitcoin yield of 72% on the year to date. And this is back when he held 439,000 Bitcoin. Of course, now we're more than 5,000 Bitcoin above that. The push and pull, how oscillators signal MicroStrategy's moves. These oscillators are very interesting. The chart below shows that these indicators oscillate between 0 and 100%. And when both indicators are below 25%, we're likely in a low risk place to buy based on historical trends. So again, these charts on this site, which is blog.microstrategist.com, they're really interesting to study and really interesting to understand for all these obvious reasons. He goes out about how the countdown begins, predicting MicroStrategy's next big move. Now, of course, who knows what the next big move will be? A lot's going to have to do with what is Bitcoin's next move? What is the global liquidity rate's next move? What is the Fed's next move as far as rate cutting or not cutting or whatever they might be doing? What is again, global liquidity is such a big deal here. What's going to be happening in Europe and Asia, all these things. So where is Bitcoin headed? And this chart right here is very interesting to show you where we might be headed, which again is very exciting. And then he goes through the ATM selling and blackouts, looking what's happened in the past can give us some insights into what might happen in the future. While MicroStrategy doesn't announce his blackout periods, the data can provide clues, and he goes through when these blackouts can happen, which means, again, Michael Saylor is not doing the ATM issuance, which when that's not happening, there's no kind of inorganic selling pressure. When there's no inorganic selling pressure, then the stock typically sees a very sharp upside action, which is pretty interesting. And he has this chart here about the price action period with the arrow just going, again, up into the right. I love this. Wear a hard hat. Again, this is just Michael Saylor saying, hey, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Things are going to fall. It's going to hurt. Protect yourself against FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt. Unfollow, and mute the toxic individuals that are in your life. Hopefully, you're following individuals like MicroStrategy Updates, MSTR Updates, a great Twitter handle. That the other Twitter handles that I'm talking about, like Punter Jeff and Ben Workman, shows like this, MicroStrategy Today, MSTR Dailies, another great show that comes out a couple times per week. These are what I think you should be surrounding yourself with, these people and this content, because while MSTR hasn't announced its next earning call, TradingView and others show it's likely on 4th of February, 2025. So if you subtract 13 days from that, it gives us a likely start of the blackout period around 22nd of January, 2025. Again, nobody knows exactly when the blackout period is going to be. Nobody knows when the earnings call. All this stuff is speculation, but this is speculation based on a lot of good intel from past actions, from past situations. So if history repeats itself, we could see MicroStrategy's price jump from the 5th percentile line at 460 on 22nd of January to the 95th percentile boundary at 1300 around the next earnings call on 4th of February, 2025. So again, this is a very bullish, a very hopeful expectation of MicroStrategy being around 1300 around the next earnings call in the 4th of February of 2025. But only time will tell. And we'll keep tracking that here every single day. The U.S. inauguration is obviously going to be playing a big deal. This is talking about Michael Saylor's 42-42 plan going forward. And what's your take on MicroStrategy's next move? Leave a comment below about what you are thinking Q1 is going to look like. I'd love your comments on that, because The comments have been very engaging, very interesting. I respond to every single one, so let's make it happen. For the video that I have for today, it's a great video in my opinion. Michael Saylor talks in depth about diversity or potentially the lack thereof. And I think he makes a lot of really interesting points. So I wanted to share that with you today. So, Michael, take it away.
The thing that I try to get across to people with the laser eyes and the focus is sometimes the least risky thing is not to diversify.
Right.
When you've got an engineering solution, when you're building an airplane and someone says aluminum is the right metal, diversifying into copper, bronze, steel, and aluminum doesn't make the plane less risky.
Right.
Right? You don't need, it's not like this, everybody's got to have their turn. We gotta like use a little bit of art and a little bit of real estate and a little bit of gold, a little bit of Bitcoin and a little bit of what Nvidia stock, right? That doesn't work. It breaks the machine, right? It's the homogeneity of the fuel, right?
Yeah.
We don't put 16 different types of radioactive elements into the, pick the thing, engineer the reactor for the thing, you put dirty fuel into the yacht, the engine fouls. You put dirty gasoline into the car, it fouls, right? So you have to engineer the reactor in the right way. And it's like the Austrians would say about money. Any amount will do. You just have to pick the money, right?
Right.
Right? Bimetallism, silver and gold, is a recipe to disaster.
Yep.
Pick one. Focus on it. So what we've done is we've focused on Bitcoin. We've created a Bitcoin treasury company. It's a crypto reactor with Bitcoin as the fuel. Because we do that, we can give our converts the highest performance of any convertible bonds. And we can give our fixed income the highest performance of any fixed income. And we can give homogeneous credit and transparency. And here's the other point I make. A lot of times people come and they're like, I want to do the Bitcoin standard thing, but I think I'm going to hedge. I'm going to put in this put hedge thing. Or maybe I should do some of this and some of that. I'm like, no.
That's not the engine.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, there you have it, my friends. Another episode of MicroStrategy Today. I truly hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, these are my opinions only. This is not financial advice. I would really like to thank our sponsor, NordVPN. If you're looking to protect your online identity and that of your families for a few bucks a month, you can do it with my affiliate link right in the show notes below. So thank you, NordVPN, for supporting the show. And as always, my friends, have another wonderful day. Until tomorrow, remember, there is no second best.